had not said my name, I would have thought, wow, who is he about to bring to the stage? Sometimes I look back on it and it's kind of overwhelming. This has been months in the making. I had the opportunity to meet Kathy Emmons last July, and after I spoke, she said, you know, Dr. Sheri, you really have to come and speak at our event. And I merely looked in her face and I said, give me the date, I'll be there. I had no idea that my life was going to go through so much chaos. And I told her this morning I was up until about after 4 a.m. this morning. So I'm up before you with about 3 hours worth of sleep. But that's okay. I am running on sheer adrenaline because this room is filled with some gorgeous individuals. Individuals who give of themselves, their time, and are just concerned about their personal family, their community at large, and you're here to make a difference. And I'm honored that I could be in your presence. I just want to share just a little bit of my story on today. And I hope that I could just move one person to look beyond their current circumstances and see a life of fulfillment, happiness, and joy. If I can do that, then my purpose for today would have been fulfilled. My life was an ordinary one. I'm a physician, have been for 21 years, always wanted to be ever since I was 2 years old. I married very young, 1 week before I started my senior year of college. And no, I was not pregnant, just very stupid. And after 18 years, that marriage ended. I had 2 beautiful children after medical school, but what that meant was that at 40, I was now the single mother of 2 teenage children. My mom, in the last 3 years of her life, she was terminally ill, and my dad and I were her caretakers. I bought a large home to make everyone comfortable. I had to have separate bedrooms for my girls and a beautiful place to live because, after all, their parents were split. My mom needed a first-floor bedroom with nice big French doors to allow room for her oxygen concentrator, all of her oxygen tanks, and all of her extra little gadgets. And I even finished my basement so that my dad could have his man cave. And, you know, I had gotten to a point where I felt like everyone was comfortable and taken care of. But in my mom's last year of life, she was really suffering, and she was ready to die. And I was as ready as a child could be to let their mother go until October 1st, 2008. That's when I discovered a mass in my right breast, and it was cancer. A planned lumpectomy and sentinel node dissection turned into a partial mastectomy, a level 1 lymph node dissection where they removed 16 lymph nodes out of my right armpit, 3 of which were positive for cancer. It was an aggressive and fast-spreading tumor. And after just about 3 rounds of chemotherapy, I developed what we call classic textbook crushing chest pain. I knew I was either having a blood clot in my lungs or a heart attack. And naturally, you can suspect. I want somebody to tell me, as a physician, what was the first thing I did? Chest pain. What was the first thing I did? Nitroglycerin. Well, if I had had some, I could have did that. But who's going to come and help me? What's that 3-digit number? 911. Right. That's a smart thing to do, guys. Here's a message. You have crushing chest pain. You're still awake to feel it. Dial 911. But I have to share with you, I wasn't very smart that moment. I didn't call. Instead, I went upstairs, pulled out my life insurance policy so that my ex could find it, and then I crawled into bed. And I said my prayers. I asked God to forgive me for everything that I had done wrong. I asked him to forgive me for everything that I should have done and didn't do. And I asked him to help my mom and be with her when she transitioned from this life to the next, because obviously I wasn't going to be there with her when that happened. And somewhere through the pain and through the fog, I fell asleep. And much to my dismay, about 6 hours later, I woke up. I really thought that it was going to be over. And when I woke up, I was very angry because in that moment, I was tired. I was very tired. I subsequently was rushed to the hospital, and I was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect. Apparently, it's something that I was born with, but it was getting worse as I got older, and the chemotherapy just made it symptomatic sooner rather than later. See, we have 2 arteries that branch off of our hearts, the left coronary artery and the right coronary artery. Well, apparently, my right coronary artery decided not to play fair, and it branches off at a point where it's being squished between my pulmonary artery and my aorta. two very other significant arteries in the body. You sever any of those three, you'll bleed to death. So I had a team of cardiologists and cardiothoracic surgeons get together, and they deemed my condition inoperable because it was being 70% blocked just at rest. When I exercised, was under stress, or even undergoing chemo, the blockage was even worse. My cardiologist tried to put a stent in, but it was so bad it didn't fit. And so, as kind as he was, as intelligent as he has the most greatest bedside manner you could ever have for doctors rendering a diagnosis affecting your heart. He gave me a handful of medicines, and he wished me all the best. So now, at the age of 41, in a matter of a few weeks, I was facing an aggressive cancer. I was diagnosed with a potentially life-threatening cardiac defect, and my mom, my best friend, was in the end stages of her life. Now, exactly 4 weeks later, almost to the day, my mom died. This was a woman who in her lifetime stole my heart. I went on to complete 12 more rounds of chemotherapy for a total of 15. I was so excited to finish my chemo that I threw myself a post-chemo, pre-radiation celebration. Yeah, I was all nice and bald in a nice pink outfit, but chemo was over. So I went on to finish 33 more treatments of radiation. And I realized that since it was not likely that I was going to die in the immediate future, I might as well just get myself together and get this thing over with. This is me pictured here in all my baldness with my dad. My 33 treatments of radiation were very difficult. I only missed 3 days of work out of an entire 10 months of treatment. The majority of individuals that I worked with never even knew that I had been diagnosed. People around me had no idea what the toll of losing half my right breast, my mom, my marriage, and even my hair was having on my psyche. And the few people that did know really didn't know what to do or say. But that was all right, because I was going to move past this, share my story on a need-to-know basis, and get on with my life. But in the summer of 2010, two significant events occurred. The first of which, I participated in my first Susan G. Komen 3-day event in Chicago. The love and compassion that I felt as a survivor was indescribable. I was surrounded by thousands of people who shared the same goal as me, and that's a world without breast cancer. But just a few weeks later, another life-changing event occurred. Lymphedema set in. Your lymph nodes are part of your immune system. They help control infection, inflammation, and swelling. And because they had removed 16 lymph nodes during surgery, and I received such intense radiation treatment, all of the lymph nodes in my right armpit were completely destroyed. It left me with colossal swelling of my right arm, hand, and fingers. Now the swelling had left me incapable of performing the clinical aspects of my job. The job that I've wanted ever since I was 2. The job that I had spent my life studying, training, and practicing as. And to add insult to injury, my boss at the time pulled me into his office and he said, "Sheri, a physician who is not clinically capable is of no value to me." Now, I know. My mom was born in Sharon, Mississippi. My dad, Luxor, Arkansas. Now, I was born and raised in Chicago, but I was reared very much in the Southern way. And one thing I have learned, that if you want to get told all quick and in a hurry with words that Webster himself could not define, let a Southern person do it. My Lord, they would tell you off, walk away, and it'll take you a whole minute before you realize, wait a minute, she just told me off. And I wish I could tell you that that's what I did with my boss, but I didn't. Because when he said what he said, I was crushed. Because now, at the age of 42, after all of that suffering, I now had no value. I went on to complete 4 months of daily physical therapy. I was terminated from that executive management position I held, from an organization that I thought I would one day retire. And now, after 4 months of treatment, I was relegated to wearing compression garments 24/7 as my only treatment option. I know many of you saw me in here and you thought I was trying to pull a Michael Jackson, didn't you? But this is actually a compression sleeve and glove. And ladies and gentlemen, I figured if I had to wear it every day, I might as well blink it out and look cute in the process. But now, because of the swelling and because of I had to wear the garment, I was considered disabled from my clinical job. And now I had to reinvent myself. Because remember those 2 teenage daughters I was telling you about? They had this insane and what I felt sometimes unrealistic expectation of wanting to eat every day. Yeah. So after careful consideration of what I still had rather than what I lost, I decided that I would spend the remainder of my lifetime sharing my story, sharing my life, and fighting to bring an end to this disease. I had no idea how that was going to translate into food on the table, but it was one of the few things in life that brought me sheer joy. That revelation came in December of 2010. In January of 2011, Susan G. Komen put out a call looking for a new national spokesperson. They sent an email to everyone who had participated in a 3-day from 2007 up until that point of registrations in January 2011. And because I had participated in my first Komen 3-day event just 4 months prior, I was included in that call. And the subject line merely said, "Could you be the next national spokesperson for the Susan G. Komen 3-day?" And after hundreds of applications, they had their new national spokesperson. I love this position. It affords me the opportunity to educate tens of thousands of women and men all across the country about their breast health and how they too can join in the fight to end breast cancer. It also is an opportunity for me to get on stage and lose my mind. Our project manager for the 3-day says he loves watching me on stage. He said it's quite entertaining. I have several moments. He said there are times when I kind of do some James Brown moves, and I'm kind of wondering what I look like doing that. But these he likes to affectionately call my Tina Turner and my Patti LaBelle movements. And someone happened to lovely catch them on camera for us. You know, I got to the point where, that Nimrodic boss of mine actually helped me to realize that my value was not found in what I do, but my value is found in whose I am. And I am a child of God with a great plan for my life. And I will live that plan out. As a physician and patient, I have a new perspective on life. See, I realize that we need to take charge of our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. We take care of others, but somehow we lose sight of ourselves, or we think we are invincible to the negative consequences of constant stress that's never appropriately addressed. I've got some key learning points that I want to share with you. I want you to take a step today, no matter how small, to break the patterns of your past. I want you to refuse to live in fear and in a state of indecision. And I want you to put setbacks behind you. Because if you're not careful, you'll soon feel unworthy, hopeless, and even condemned. And you have to remember that you are not a failure because you try something and it doesn't work out. You, my love, fell only when you stopped trying. Now, admittedly, I got to a point where I wanted to die. I did. I don't ever leave that out of my story. But when I woke up and got some sense, like literally woke up, wasn't expecting to, I realized that I had to step up to the plate, even though I was afraid of striking out. And because I did, my life is now filled with so many blessings. Sometimes I cannot even comprehend it all. I want you guys to realize that there comes a time in your life when you have to make a decision. Don't stay where you are. You may be afraid to, but really your state of indecision is a decision in and of itself. After my diagnosis, I realized that I had spent the first half of my life merely existing. But since my diagnosis, I have chosen to live. And for me, to live means to love myself and others, to inspire those around me, to voice my dreams and ambitions, and to enjoy life. I live every day, and as a result, I will live behind a legacy that will hopefully help others journey down a path that is not nearly as harsh, not nearly as long, and hopefully not as painful. I want you to make up in your mind that you're going to be bold in your living after today. And you're going to be bold because you're going to be willing to take action. I want you to keep in mind that when you take action, I want you to take action for you. See, we do it for other people. But when we do it for ourselves, when we take a minute, we feel guilty. We start thinking about all the work that's going to be waiting for us when we get back from vacation before we ever even leave. And if we sit still for more than 5 minutes, we feel like we're wasting time. The reality is, God never intended for us to live an overwhelmed life. He meant for us to live a life that's abundant and full of joy. I want you to give abundantly. And I'm not just talking about of your money. I'm talking about of your time, your presence, your smile, and your touch. As a physician, I did that all the time. But I learned that when I became overcommitted, it became very robotic for me. And I lost sight of the reciprocity of giving and receiving. I want you to slow down to the point where you realize that the smile you give someone could very well be the last smile they see. And then I want you to live in the present and hope in your future. Today is an important day for you. Today is the day that you can change your mindset, develop a new attitude, and start making better choices. Make up in your mind that today is going to be the day that makes tomorrow even better than yesterday. When I think about time, I realize that no matter how fast or how slow we may feel it's going, we all have only a certain amount of time here on earth. And with that in mind, I ask myself daily, what am I doing with my time? I've developed a new outlook on life. I've developed a new way of looking ahead to the new vision in life and having a renewed faith and trust. I've learned that joy is not about having all of your circumstances in order or even under control. Joy comes from what's in your heart. And contentment, it's not about being well known or fame. It's not about how much money you have, how much education you have, what side of the block you were born on. Contentment is a heart attitude. The word content means being satisfied, where nothing disturbs you no matter what's going on, but not to the point that you never want any change. We all want things to get better, but we can choose to believe that God is working, that things are changing, and that we will see the results of it in due time. Organizations will ask me to talk about time management, but the more I thought about it, we only have 24 hours in a day, 168 hours in a week. And the seconds in an hour are a fixed resource. They cannot be finagled, cajoled, manipulated, managed, or multiplied. So how do we possibly get more out of life with the time that we have? I propose to you 4 steps of priority management. First thing you're going to do to get more out of life, I want you to think about what you want more out of or more of, and then I want you to write it down. The reason why I say write it down is because when you translate a desire to paper with pen, it's a step of creation. You have now translated your desire into a physical reality, possibly for the very first time. Second step, I want you to pick one of those items off the list to do over the next coming week. And I'm telling you now, just one, I can sense it. This is a room full of type A multitaskers. And you're going to say, look at the list, I could do 2 or 3. Please don't. Please don't. Just pick one. Third step, I want you to make it a priority. How many of you carry like daily planners or your calendar on your phone with you? Keep it, yeah. You know what? I could tell what your priorities are by the calendar that you carry with you. Because be assured, you will always have time for the things you put first. So let's say your baby's a cheerleader. You want to see her cheer at one of her basketball games. And let's say there's a game next Friday at 3:30. I want you to put it on your calendar. And this last fourth step is so important. It gets 3 stages. Do it, savor it, and celebrate it. So next Friday at 3:30, you do it. You be there at that game. Don't you allow anything except for a life-threatening emergency keep you from being there. And in that moment, I want you to savor it. Make it a memory. Don't you dare pull out that phone and check emails. Don't you dare start thinking about what you're going to tell your husband when you get home because he got on your nerves in the morning. You be there for your baby when she does her back bends and her running cartwheels. And when she's standing off to the sidelines and there's a timeout and nothing really going on, I want you to look around the audience and look at the cute little girls making googly eyes at the fine-looking basketball players. I want you to look at how they're dressed and realize how old we have gotten. And then when the moment has passed, I want you to celebrate it. I want you to be grateful for that experience. I want you to pat yourself on the back because you have now just gotten more out of life. And then pull that list out and pick something else to accomplish in the next week. Can we do that so we can get more out of life? It's okay. You all can clap. You know, I have found that a lot of times we don't get more out of life because to do what I just told you to do requires change. And change takes us out of our comfort zone. Even when change is good, it's different. But I've learned that as long as I stay in the safety zone, I may feel safe, but I will never develop my full potential or really be fulfilled in what I'm doing. I've learned that you have to step out and find out because you can either be pitiful or powerful, but not both. Let me tell you about a story, and some of you may have heard this before. It's about a donkey. Donkey falls over into a well. It's a dry well. Farmer realizes that the donkey's in a well. Donkey is wailing. Farmer goes out, pulls his friends together, try to figure out how they're going to get this donkey out of this well. They decide that it's going to take too much time and too much money to get him out. So the well needed to be closed up anyway. So everybody grabbed shovels and began to heap dirt into the well. First shovel of dirt goes in, donkey begins to wail even louder. Shovel of dirt goes back in, he continues to wail, but after a while, after each shovel of dirt, the wailing stops. The farmer gets really curious, so he decides to take a look and peek over into the well. And much to his surprise, that as a shovel of dirt hits the donkey back, you know what that donkey would do? He would shake it off and step right on top of it. And he kept doing until the last shovel of dirt goes in, he shakes it off, and he steps right on out of that well. Many of you are in various stages of that story. Some of you have just fallen in, and you are wailing because you have no idea how you're coming out. And then all of a sudden you hear a familiar voice, and you think help is on the way. And then you get that first heap of dirt, and you realize, no, it's not. But then some of you still are at the point where you realize, I'm going to shake it off and step on over this. Some of you have had mound upon mound upon mound of dirt dumped on top of you, and you still managed to shake it off. And some of you still are now at the mouth of that well. You have come through and surpassed insurmountable challenges. And now, all you need to do is to step out into your victory. Remember, you can either be pitiful or powerful, but not both. Now, this was so important. I must apparently had like 5 different ways to see this slide. I have to admit, 5 years ago, I wanted to die. It was my easy way out. But it seems that life always has a way of bringing us to a point where we need to make a fresh start. Some of you might be there right now. Maybe you want to revive a lost dream or break a bad habit. Maybe You want to start your own business, get a handle on your finances, write a book, whatever it is, this may be your new beginning. Your time to get up and get on with your life, your vision, your assignment, because it's yours, but you have a choice. It is your job and your part to simply walk it out. For me, I got to a point where on October 1st, 2008, it was a day of tragedy. But 5 years to the day, to no planning of my own, on October 1st, 2013, was a day of new beginnings. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you my husband, my 6'3" cafe au lait specimen, Dr. Donald Prentiss. Could you stand up? No matter what you're going through right now, I want you to remember, I want you to do what you have to do. It may not be easy, and it may take some time, but I want you to have faith and go for whatever it is. This is your time, and I want you to look from the place where you are right now and simply go. There are moments in your life that shape the course of who you're going to be. Sometimes they're little, subtle moments. Sometimes they're big moments, like breast cancer you never saw coming. No one asks for their life to change, but it does. It's what you do afterwards that counts. That's when you find out who you are. I'm Dr. Sheri, a wife, a mother, a daughter, a breast cancer survivor, a breast cancer activist, a motivational speaker, a national spokesperson. But most of all, I am a child of God delivering a message of hope in hopes that you too will choose to live. God bless you.